It's been 2 years since I got married. I work as a corporate employee and fulfill my role as a housewife. My husband, John, is 2 years younger than me. He used to work for a stable company, but unfortunately, he was laid off just after we got married. Now, he's making ends meet with various part-time jobs every day. As a result, I am the main breadwinner of our household. I do have some complaints about John, but what troubles me more is my mother-in-law's behavior. She seems to take pleasure in bullying me, seizing every opportunity when John is out to visit and mistreat me. At first, I tried to let her words slide, but seeing that I didn't fight back, she got carried away. She escalated her harassment and even started asking for money. Today is my day off, and I was enjoying a relaxing day at home while John was out working late at his part-time jobs. As soon as John left the house, my mother-in-law promptly came over.
You do cook properly for my son every day, don't you? You're not neglecting housework just because you have a job, right? You are living responsibly as a wife, aren't you?
I was hanging laundry on the balcony at the time, but she scolded me, saying that my way of hanging was not appropriate and that I should be able to do it more efficiently. It was utterly unreasonable. And even as noon approached, she showed no signs of leaving. So, reluctantly, I decided to prepare a simple lunch.
Such a plain and simple meal, I can't possibly eat this.
She constantly voiced her complaints and never stopped grumbling. Astonishingly, she had the audacity to order a luxurious lunch delivery service and pushed all the payment onto me. Excuse me, but what do you intend to do about the payment for this lunch?
It's because you only provide me with such a modest meal. You should naturally be paying for this expense.
Our household budget is tight since my husband John's salary isn't that high, so I always strive to save money. However, just the cost of the luxurious lunch that my mother-in-law ordered amounted to what we usually spend on groceries for an entire week. Moreover, she said,
I forgot my wallet at home. Could you lend me $300?
"But you have your wallet at home, don't you?"
Yes, but I might want to buy something on my way home. Just lend me the money without complaining. You are living off my son's earnings, yet you hesitate to lend money.
"But I work too and earn a decent salary, you know?"
Your salary isn't that substantial, is it? You are able to live comfortably thanks to my son, so lend me the money without making a fuss.
Unbeknownst to my mother-in-law, my husband is barely making ends meet with various part-time jobs. Reluctantly, to avoid any issues, I handed over the money to her. As soon as she received the money, she left our house immediately. I discussed this issue thoroughly with my husband, but he didn't believe a word I said.
There's no way my mother would say such things. I can't believe it.
But it's the truth. She complains about the meals I cook, and today, she even ordered expensive lunch and made me pay for it. Plus, I was the one who lent her the money.
But my mother wouldn't do such terrible things. She never speaks ill of others, or does anything cruel.
I desperately tried to plead my case, but John staunchly defended his mother throughout. I had placed my trust in him, but feeling betrayed and utterly alone, I was overwhelmed by sadness and loneliness. Unable to get a satisfactory explanation from John, I felt hopeless and decided to give up on talking to him any further. And a few days later, John shocked me with unbelievable words.
Hey, I heard you gave my mom an expensive bag as a gift.
What? What are you talking about?
My mom was really happy. It seems like you finally realized your mistake and understood that you were wrong. My mom is respected by everyone, and she would never harass her daughter-in-law.
Although I had no recollection of giving her any such gift, the situation quickly became clear to me. The $300 I had lent to my mother-in-law came to mind. She had talked as if she received the money as a gift, and it was apparent she had never intended to repay me in the first place. Reflecting on it, I realized she had never repaid any money I had lent her in the past. Upon hearing the story from my husband John, my anger reached its peak, and I felt a strong urge to change the situation. I made a firm decision to reveal the truth about my mother-in-law and was prepared to fight on my own. Though there was no one around to support me, I decided to face this battle by myself. Immediately, I took action and prepared a voice recorder to document everything my mother-in-law would say and do. The next day, a long weekend began. I was at home while John had taken a trip out of state with his friends and was planning to return the next day. As expected, my mother-in-law came to visit our house, but she brought a large bag with her.
I've decided to stay at your house tonight.
Why all of a sudden?
Since I came all the way here, you should at least carry my luggage. Really, you're such an inconsiderate daughter-in-law. Absolutely useless.
Even though it was hard to believe, my mother-in-law suddenly announced she would be spending the night at our house while John was away. As soon as she entered the house, she started hurling insults at me. I had prepared a voice recorder in advance to make sure I could document everything, and I was recording her verbal behavior. She was behaving worse than ever before, changing the TV channel as she pleased, rummaging through the refrigerator, criticizing my choices of drinks and snacks, and even helping herself to them. Mother-in-law, could you please stop going through our things without asking?
A daughter-in-law like you has no right to order me around.
She was infuriated when I called her out. Even as I was preparing curry for dinner, she continued to make sarcastic comments.
Are you making another lazy meal? My poor son has to eat this kind of half-hearted cooking every day. What would you do without his income? I feel so sorry for my son living with a parasite like you.
My patience had reached its limit. I decided that as soon as John returned home the next day, we would go to my in-laws' house together, and I would play the recording I had made. In the evening of the next day, as soon as John safely returned home, I told him about my plan. I was just thinking, how about we visit your parents' house? I can give your mom a ride, and I also want to say hello to your dad and spend some time with him.
That sounds good. I've got some souvenirs from my recent trip, so this is a perfect opportunity. I'll come with you.
With that, we took the unsuspecting John and mother-in-law and headed to my in-laws' house by car. It was only about a 10-minute drive from our house, so we arrived quickly. My father-in-law warmly welcomed us, happily accepted the souvenirs from John, and then we all sat down in the living room for a pleasant chat. At that moment, I proceeded with my plan and started playing the voice recorder at maximum volume. It had countless recordings of my mother-in-law's abusive language. John and my father-in-law were shocked and lost for words, standing there in bewilderment. This is your mother's voice, isn't it?
Wait a minute. What is this? Stop it right now. I didn't say any of this.
At that moment, it was clear that my mother-in-law was visibly shaken and a bit panicked. John, you didn't believe what I was saying, but this is your mom's true colors.
This is awful. Why would you do something like this?
The awful one here is you, mother-in-law. Please listen carefully to the harsh words you just said to me and understand for yourself how terrible they are.
That's not the problem here. What I want to say is that the act of your recording is extremely terrible. This is completely eavesdropping, and I cannot tolerate this. It's unacceptable for a daughter-in-law like you to be so arrogant.
But the truth is, I had no other choice. Since no one believed what I was saying, I had to resort to this method. In front of her husband and father-in-law, the mother-in-law became extremely emotional, revealing her true nature completely.
What in the world is going on here?
Mom, what does this mean? Don't tell me. Everything she said was true.
Pressured by her son and husband, the mother-in-law, losing color in her face, was completely shaken.
No, that's not true. This isn't me.
But this is clearly your voice, isn't it, mother-in-law? You shouldn't lie.
No way. I can't believe my mom would do such a thing.
By this point, John finally began to doubt his mother's words and actions. However, from my perspective, his reaction was too late. I had already lost my patience with him for continuing to doubt me without believing my words. Calmly but firmly, I declared to John, "You should also reflect on your own issues. I've made my decision. Let's get a divorce."
What? Why?
My words left John completely speechless, and my father-in-law also opened his eyes wide in astonishment.
You said divorce, but can I take that as some kind of joke?
It's clear that I am serious. Even when I was going through tough times, you always took your mother's side and never seriously listened to what I had to say. Do you really think we can live happily together after this? I can no longer trust you. I can't forgive not just your mother, but also you. Even though John appealed to me with tears in his eyes, I was already disillusioned with him.
I had no idea my wife was doing such things. I am truly sorry for causing you so much pain. I apologize from the bottom of my heart.
The father-in-law also seemed shocked, creating a very heavy atmosphere in the room.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But I just really want to avoid a divorce.
My husband pleaded with me in tears, but I had already made up my mind and his words didn't sway me. I've already decided. I don't have any love left for you, not even a tiny bit.
Really? Are you sure about that?
And another thing about your mother. I've calculated the total amount of money she borrowed from me, and she needs to pay it all back.
What? Did you really borrow money from her?
At that moment, it seemed as if the mother-in-law lost her ability to speak, and she broke down crying. After that, with the support of a lawyer, I proceeded with the divorce process. As a result, a legal divorce was finalized between my husband and me. Fortunately, since the house we lived in was purchased under my name, I was able to kick my ex-husband out of it. Losing the house, as well as taking on the responsibility for alimony and his mother's debt, he found himself in a financially dire situation. I heard he is working hard, juggling 3 part-time jobs just to make ends meet. Meanwhile, my former father-in-law, also taking this incident as a turning point, lost his love for his wife and decided to divorce her. Bad rumors about my former mother-in-law spread around the neighborhood, and now nobody wants to associate with her. Currently, my ex-husband and former mother-in-law are living together in an apartment, managing to make a living, albeit in poverty. As for me, I have been completely liberated from my former mother-in-law and am living each day happily, filled with a sense of relief. Looking forward to the future, I plan to enjoy some time alone for a while, hoping to meet someone wonderful eventually.